Jackson's doing good.
Hey there, folks, and welcome to another OU Insider post-practice blitz. Parker Thune alongside Brandon Drum. We spoke to Brent Venables today for the first time in a while. It had been 10 days since we got to tap in with the head ball coach. Spoke to several players, Gavin Sawchuk, Robert Spears-Jennings, Des Malone, and JJ Hester, and got to watch a little bit of practice. Obviously, the very first thing that Brent Venables was asked about in his press conference was the status of Jaden Gibson. He confirmed that Gibson is out for the year.
You know, we've got one player that won't be back, and we know that's Jaden Gibson. But other than that, everybody else, again, just the normal bumps and bruises.
It was somewhat evident even before BV confirmed it that Gibson was going to miss the season. People had kind of read between the lines on that. And immediately, we and many others pointed to JJ Hester as somebody that naturally stood to benefit from Gibson's absence if healthy. And BV cited Hester as a guy that has made strides on the practice field, and also mentioned that the only thing that's really held him back in his time at Oklahoma has been injury. So we really don't have much of a frame of reference outside of what he did at Missouri for what JJ Hester can bring to the offense. Big wild card there.
JJ, the only thing that's held JJ back is some injuries in his past. So he's fought through that. You know, he had a broken foot twice, just back to back. And he's been fantastic. He's long, he's really fast, he's got a tremendous catch radius, he plays tough, blocks well, and then he's an excellent special teams player. So his, again, growth and development is exactly, other than the injury, exactly what we thought we could potentially get out of him. And so he's going to have a real role for us.
He's a very talented player. You're talking about a guy out of high school, Booker T. Washington, that was recruited as a four-star athlete. Wasn't a receiver, four-star athlete, could have played safety, could have played wide receiver. He obviously chose wide receiver when he got to college, but he's a big physical guy. He's had foot injuries, right? And he talked to, even Hester today talked about that. Like, hey, my only issue has been injury. When he did play prior to the injuries, I believe he had a few catches. They were the first year that he was brought in as a transfer, they were talking him up as one of the players to watch moving forward, as not so much a stretch it down the field type guy, but a really big possession, physical, third down, you need a big play, going to hit somebody over the middle. JJ Hester is somebody that you can probably count on at that point in time in his career, and probably can now again. I think what everybody's going to wonder, Parker, is can he stretch the field the way Gibson can stretch the field?
Yeah.
And that's going to be the biggest question, because speed, though Hester is fast, has never been what he has been known for, even in high school at all. So that's going to be the big deal, but it's good that he's stepping up. It's good to show that there's depth in somebody that understands the SEC, and it's JJ Hester. So I guess if you're going to find something positive with the Gibson injury, that would be it. There's not much else you can find positive in that. I thought the interesting part, Parker, with BV was the things he said about the defense.
You know, all three levels of that defense, you have guys that can play for most programs in the country, if not all. And I don't like to anoint people. I think that, we'll see how they play this year. But, we have a chance at all three levels to have an awfully good group, and that's what they are facing. Jackson is facing every single day. We do mostly, again, ones against ones and about everything. So
we've been talking about it, and it's a believe it, see it type thing, because the last decade went. I talked about this on the radio today, is that 3 years where you can look back, 2015, 2020, 2021, you go, okay, those defenses were pretty good. Outside of that, nope. That's 70% of the time in the last decade, they've had a really crappy defense. BV goes out and goes, well, I don't want to annoy the defense. And then he anointed them, and saying, well, and it's true, multiple players on all three levels would start at every program in the country. Very true. Very true. But here's the issue you run into. Are the fans going to believe that it's supposed to be a top 5 defense now because of things like that? I think there's got to be a balance. And he even said they've got to go out and prove it game time. But right now he feels it. He backtracked a little after he anointed, but he still anointed him first.
Well, it's funny. Robert Spears Jennings came out, and after Gentry Williams said last week, we shouldn't even be talking about being the number one defense in the country. RSJ goes, we're going to be number one. That's where we expect to be. That's where we want to be. That's what we're going to. It's like, those are two guys that came in together from the 918, speaking two completely different messages there. But all in all, and Gentry is going to be a little bit more of a reserved guy as far as tossing the sound bites out there. But the very fact that that conversation is being had, Brandon, suggests that expectations are not only high externally, but they're high internally as well. There's a lot of belief within the walls of the Switzer Center in what this defense is going to be in 2024. And just floating this out there, Brandon, because this appears to be a severely underdeveloped storyline. Struggles on the practice field for Jackson Arnold and the remainder of the Sooners quarterbacks. That might have less to do with the quarterback sucking and more to do with the defense being awesome.
Yeah, and we talked about that on the podcast last week. Like, hey, maybe it is the defense, maybe it's not. And when you talk to sources, that seems to be they're like, well, the other issue is maybe this defense really is that good. Well, if you talk to BV, if you talk to the players on defense, and even when you talk to JJ Hester, like he was like, no, man, our defense is getting us ready. Like, yeah, they are really, really good. So, I mean, yeah, it may be the defense that's causing more problems than anything else, because though you do expect Jackson to have his ups and downs, I don't know that he struggled as much as he did in the spring. I would say no, but Saturday was rough. But BB didn't seem worried. Did that not strike you like he was just like ho hum about it? Like, yeah, he's progressing. He's exactly where we want him to be.
He's watched a lot more football and certainly watched a lot more early August scrimmages than most anybody that is complaining about what Jackson Arnold purportedly did and didn't do on the practice field Friday. So a couple interesting notes at the cornerback position. One, BV talked up Eli Bowen, and it was interesting. I was on the radio yesterday with Caleb Kelly, of course, former Oklahoma linebacker. He's now a member of the Soul Mission staff at OU. He's on the practice field every day. And he said what many others have said, you're going to see Eli Bowen this fall. You're going to see him. He's going to play. But Brand also gave a lot of praise to Kenai Walker, and in fact said he may be, or I should say may have been to this point in camp, our most consistent cornerback. Now, there are two ways you can look at that, because Kenai Walker was not that great last year. Two entirely distinct ways you can look at that. Yes, well-timed balloons. One, the entire secondary has regressed significantly, or two, Kenai Walker's gotten a lot better. Knowing what we know of the remainder of the cast of characters in that cornerback group, Brandon, I'm inclined to believe it's the latter, which is a great sign.
Agreed. Yeah. He's always had the physical tools.
Always.
I think that has never been the issue. It's always been up here, mental thing with Kenai Walker. And now that I spoke to somebody last night that was praising him and praising Michael Boganowski, like those are the two guys that everybody needs to be watching this fall if you're going to buy stock in secondary guys that nobody's talking about.
Here's a thought. You think people don't like Kenai Walker because he's an Alex Grinch type corner? Is there a stigma there? He looks like the type of guy that Alex Grinch would have rostered and played at cornerback.
Do you think so? Because he's so long and range. He's like 6'2", 6'3", and like 200 pounds. I mean, I would say Eli Bowen is more in that vein. Would he not? Right? Like, but at the same time, Eli Bowen's ball hawk. We saw that in high school. You see it now. Everybody. Gentry Williams talked about Eli Bowen. That was the first name he brought up, was Eli Bowen and Kenai Walker. Those were the two. So it seems to be a consensus that those two are going to play quite a bit. And then the consensus when you talk to the rest of the defense, hey, that freshman safety is pretty good too back there. which I think that battle between him and RSJ is going to be fun to watch. Like, who is going to come out on top come the season? Because RSJ has NFL potential. There's a lot of people talking about Michael Boganowski as first round potential if you listen to a lot of people. So that like potential. We're not saying he's going to be first round. Potential. He's only a freshman, the first fall camp.
Sure.
But they like his size, his what I mean, it's
if
it's
it all
been the
comes
same three.
together,
Yeah.
if it all comes together, he's going to be a force.
Yes, ridiculous. I mean, Brandon Hall knows what he's doing. Peyton Bowen, Boganowski, Jaden Hardy, Reggie Powers. I mean, he's built a freaking. He's phenomenal.
That's
Anyways,
a loaded group right there. Now,
yes.
Brent Venables did, of course, acknowledge that Jaden Gibson's out for the year, but said that the team isn't really dealing with any other injuries. They have guys who are hurt, not injured. Desan McCullough is in a boot on a
Injured.
scooter, so you'd think, okay, he's probably
Hashtag
not
injured.
gonna, yeah, that you would file that under injured. But Troy Everett practiced today, Brandon. He looks way ahead of schedule. That's refreshing. Now, the offensive line in general, certainly one of those units that you have to hope they stay as healthy as possible, because if you have to dig too deep there, you're starting to pick and choose from guys that just haven't played a lot of college football. But if healthy, again, there's a lot of belief that this offensive line is going to be able to protect Jackson Arnold pretty effectively and open up the holes in the running game for Gavin Sawchuk and that crew of backs.
Like our leadership there, like our toughness there. I like the schemes that we have. Our backs are playing really good. The line is only as good as those running backs too. And as we've seen, we're improved at running back from where we were a year ago. And I like our depth there. And I like our playmaking, and I like our understanding at the position. And I think there's a better understanding from the backs. What's the point? What's the read of any particular run? What's the objective here? What are we trying to set up? What are we trying to accomplish? The style of run, things of that nature. But I really do. That's a hard-working group of dudes. Those guys up front.
Experience is never going to be the problem. It's going to be depth. It's going to be, can the first 8 guys stay healthy and really bring along the other 2 or 3 guys that you've got to intermingle in there, like the Hito Zetas of the world, the BJ Brooks, the Eddie Perry-Louise, the Josh Bates of the world, right? Those 3, 4, 5 guys got to be brought along slowly. But you have that 7, 8 guys that you feel pretty comfortable with. Now you got to find the right collection of guys at tackle and guard. I think you feel like it's either going to be Hickman, Everett, or Bates, obviously, at center. And if Hickman's healthy, you can move Everett to guard and feel really good about that situation. I mean, really good, because that adds another layer, right? With Ozida, with Garen Hatchett, with Fabici Wewu, Tarquin can play guard, Sexton can play guard. Like, there's a multitude of guys that can play guard for Oklahoma, and you feel really good about it. Then the tackle spots, I think there's 3 or 4. I mean, Ozaida's going to play some there. Spencer Brown, Tarquin, Sexton. Obviously, Sexton's going to be your leader. He's the one that has, day 1, day 2 potential out of that group right now. The guy they really lean on for everything. So you feel good, but you don't feel good if just one guy goes down. It shakes everything up because you're not very deep. You're deep, but you don't have experience. How about that? There's a lot of talent. It's just inexperience after the first 7, 8 guys. Yeah. So that's what you worry about. And Jake Taylor looked like he was hobbled today. He's going to be good to go game 1. Obviously, he dressed out and was going through practice, but he didn't look full go. So, I mean, there's a lot of things you got to worry about right now, right? If you're an offensive line, like, stay healthy. That's number 1.
And we will keep you posted on that and all of the relevant storylines surrounding OU football throughout the week on this YouTube channel as well as over at ouinsider.com. Before we let you go, folks, keep in mind, until Friday, you can get 75% off your annual subscription. That's a full year of OU Insider for less than $25 when you use promo code SEC24. That's SEC24. Also, if you're a college student, you can always get a full year of OU Insider for just $11.95.
Any college.
One-time payment of $11.95. All you have to do is email us at ouinsider@rivals.com from any email account ending in edu, and we will get you taken care of. Again, we know your budgets are tight. $11.95. That's all it takes to get a full year of access to all of the outstanding recruiting and team intel over at ouinsider.com. Much more to come, including a new episode of the Under the Visor podcast dropping tomorrow on this very channel and streaming platforms everywhere. Until then, for Brandon Drum, I'm Parker Thune. Take it easy, everybody.